Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, welcome to All Intuitive Conversation. I am excited to connect with Michelle Henderson. So let's bring her to the stage.
Hello,
Aloha.
hello.
How are you, lady?
I am doing fabulous. We're having some great weather in Texas.
Yes, I just saw on your LinkedIn profile that you were in Dallas, Texas. So I am in
Yes.
Little Rock, Arkansas. So you're a little
No.
closer than some of my normal guests. I had one in Arkansas last week, but like you're still in my, as I say, driving distance, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful. So are you from Dallas?
Yeah, well, I actually grew up in Abilene, Texas, which is central Texas. And then I moved to Dallas when I was in high school. So I
Oh,
would pretty much say, yeah, I'm pretty close to living here most of my life.
okay, absolutely. So you are from Texas. So tell me, what do you enjoy about living in Texas?
Oh my goodness. That is a fabulous question. I just really love the energy here. And it's very interesting because I've always lived around water.
Mm,
And of course, I live near a lake, but it's just, I think it's the energy. And, whenever you grow up somewhere and you get used to the vibes,
mhm.
I think that's just, you feel like home. I don't
Yes.
whenever I go and visit other places, and I've been to Little Rock, Arkansas as well. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And the energy is there. I went to Eureka Springs and I mean, oh my gosh, just awesome vibes. But I call Dallas, Texas home.
Yes. Well, it is Arkansas is the natural state, and so I am agreeing. But I will say that for me, I didn't originally think that I would live in the South. I had grew up in, well, I graduated high school in Jersey, so let me say that. So I thought I would be
Oh,
East Coast, having a
interesting.
career in New York, live in Jersey kind of thing. And then I met this guy who's from Arkansas,
Oh.
but I knew it was all part of my like spiritual journey.
Hmm.
So with that, so like I said, you guys know I don't do a whole bunch of research on my guests. And so what stood out about Michelle is that when I do the promo videos to get the information from LinkedIn, Michelle's was blank. She didn't have a background at all, but she had her picture, and that's all I say is that you got to have a picture.
Yes.
So with that, so today, because I come on, I was like, oh, she's specifically a psychic medium.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me more about that, ma'am.
Okay, well, I didn't start out as a psychic medium. I've always had the ability since childhood.
Mm,
But of course, living in Texas, no one wanted to talk about it. I would really feel the people around me. I could feel spirit around me. And, in Abilene, we have three Christian colleges. So
uh-huh.
very, very conservative. I grew up in the church. My mother has the ability as well, but again, she doesn't want to talk about it. So I, as I became an educator, I really used it when I worked with children. I just
Mm,
knew what they needed. I knew what the parents needed for me to say. And so I just kind of kept it under wraps. But in my 20s, I had a spiritual awakening. All these spirits came to me and they kept talking to me, and I'm going crazy.
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so I found a psychic medium in the Dallas area and I said, "Can you help me? Just tell me what's going on." And she said, "You're not going crazy, number one. And number two, that's mediumship. Spirit is just trying to get you to listen to them, to say, hey, do you want to work with us?"
Mm,
And she said, "Of course, you're in control. You can decide or not." And at that time, I was not really ready. It kind of scared me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed in education. And right before COVID, I just felt like I needed to come out as a psychic medium. I told my husband, it's time. I need to work as a psychic medium. And so I started taking workshops. And of course, COVID hit. And I think that's all meant to be because you know how the energy shifted
Mm-hmm.
during COVID. And I took a Lisa Williams 9-month program on online, and we met twice a week.
Yes.
And I met other psychic mediums. They went through the exact same experiences I did. And so we really bonded. And I just felt like, oh, this is really meant to be. And so that's when I really tuned in to my gifts.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
so aligned with you, Michelle, because right when you started talking, what came out was this. But for the picture,
Uh huh.
what it was that, as you were talking about just blind to the abilities, I do not want to see them. But at the same time, there was judgment about, hey, like, this is,
Yes.
am I crazy? This is weird. I don't want to do this, right? Like, I'm going to keep doing my day job. I'm just going to let this stay balanced, right?
Hmm.
And so, but I align with that because that was some of my concern as well, because I came out of the spiritual broom closet in January of 2021. And it's very similar. Grew up having experience of a Christian background. And
Hmm.
we are, for those, we are in what they call the Bible Belt,
Hmm.
which is a lot of expectations and judgment of when you start talking mediumship or cards and all these different things. It's like, no, 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 no. That's something that you don't want to do. You don't want to feel like you're ostracized from your local community. So I'm totally understanding that experience as well. And then the whole fact of, you had a conversation with your husband
Hmm.
about coming out, because that was what the second kind of like spark was, that my husband and my son used to jokingly call me a witch. And coming from a Christian, I used to be initially like, no, I am not. And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't, at least is what I would say, what I thought. I was not doing anything. I was just like, I was just being myself, like, no. And then it became, I didn't really say anything. I just like, whatever. To
Right.
transition to go to New Orleans, which is this big spiritual city.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, I wouldn't describe it as a witch, but here's this. But it turned into this whole beautiful conversation, right? Of just saying, I knew that.
Yes.
I've just been waiting
Yes.
for you to like love you, love you anyway, kind of thing. And so then the next one that came out was what you were talking about. What was the strategy? So once you decided, you know what, I can no longer hide this, because like you said, COVID brought this whole energy shift.
Hmm.
It came to individuals like, okay, we need, those that are really able to tap into these specific skills to be able to help other individuals to ascend, because now Earth is just in this environment to where we need some help, right? So you
Absolutely.
so you created this whole strategy of, I'm going to go
Awesome.
tap into this and do all of those things, right? So now, because the other thing that came out that I'm going to ask you about
Ooh.
is the broken heart. So what has been your experience, or something that has broken your heart a little bit now that you came out publicly about being a psychic medium? That
Huh, that is very interesting. And and I guess you could think of a broken heart as, yeah, okay. So I was trying to think, and what came to me, because there's a couple of things.
Mhm.
I actually had a family situation happen, and I don't know if it's correlated to coming out as a psychic medium, but
Mhm.
we have had, and it was around my stepfather's death.
Mm.
And so the family, my step family, and my mother and I have split, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And yes, it was a broken heart throughout the whole thing. And so a lot of times though, they said you can still talk to someone who is still living, that's kind of in between the worlds. And I did
Mhm.
that with my stepfather. And
Mm.
so I was able to communicate with him. and just kind of, and he knew what was going on. I mean, he knew. It just,
Mhm.
it's just one of those earthly issues that we have. And I am learning how to forgive. And I think spirit gives you things that for tribulation.
Yes. Okay. I
Yes.
gotta chill because I
Yes.
put on essential oils,
Yes.
kind of, and the one for today,
What is it? Oh my goodness. Oh,
forgive.
forgive. Oh my gosh. We are in tuned, aren't we? Oh my
Keep
gosh.
going. Yes.
So
Hmm.
yes, so I am definitely, and I know that I'm supposed to be going through this and forgiving and looking at their point of view, and just think of it as we're all one, we're all spiritual.
Mm, yes. Okay. So very mature and, like I said, connecting and forgiving.
Mhm.
How did you do that?
It's not easy. So it's step by step. I'm still working on it.
Mm,
Okay, so what I first did is I blocked all of my relatives, step relatives, blocked them on Facebook.
mm,
And I had to go through that grieving process and give myself some time. And then whenever I'm looking at it and I'm feeling better about the situation, or kind of forgiving myself what happened, I thought, blocking is not forgiving.
mm,
So I went ahead and thought, you know what? They need to know where I am. And, you know, maybe our lives will come together, but it's a daily thing. Some
yeah.
days I'm okay with it, some days I'm not, but it's just my human factor.
Hmm.
Um, so step by step.
Step by step.
Mhm,
Okay. So forgiving,
mhm.
as you said, is a continuous kind of process with that. So now, as you are kind of embracing more of your spirituality, please, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis for Michelle? Like,
And I love that question because there again, it's kind of a balance. Because I wake up every day and I have that gratitude. So I'm
mm,
trying, I think once you have the gratitude, you can't help but be spiritual. I'm
mm,
also balancing, of course, living still in a conservative town and
mm,
having to balance that. I know who I am, my unique self. I tell others about it, right? But I'm
mhm,
also going to church. I'm also still considered a Christian. So I'm having to find that happy balance. But I'm going, you know what? It's not really a balance. That's who I am as well. I'm embracing both sides.
mhm.
But I
Yeah, the
still
whole
have trouble.
scales,
Oh my gosh.
the whole scales. Uh-huh.
But I still have difficulty whenever I meet somebody new. Instead of saying, oh, yes, I'm a psychic medium,
Mhm,
I tend to kind of play it safe and say, you know what? I'm a spiritual advisor, and kind of, and they, that makes sense to them. They think in spiritual coach. And then from that point on, it's step by step. I plant the little seeds and
mhm,
then I tell them exactly what I do. But I work at the school still part-time, and I don't think many people know I do this on, on the side, that it is me.
mhm. Okay, so then with that, here you are on the show and it's live
Mhm.
on LinkedIn. So tell me what sparked you to be able to come on the show and talk about this? Because you didn't have to put that you were a psychic
Oh,
medium.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Well, because I feel like, again, with a little seed, a little education to let
Mhm,
people know it is not a scary thing, that it is actually from the divine, and that we all have gifts. And it's interesting too, because I thought a lot of people are just going to like not want to deal with me. And like
mhm,
you said, they go, oh, I'm not surprised. And how cool is that? So there are so many people that really accept it than not accept it. If that makes sense. They may not talk about it. They may go, "Oh,
yes.
keep it secret." But it's
Uh-huh.
like those people that go into a spiritual shop or a benefit school store, and they'll have a cap on and they'll have the little sunglasses.
Like this? There. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm. It's like, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
But you're so right because, like I said, the individuals that people that are close to you kind of know, it's like, hmm, yeah, it's not that came out of nowhere kind of thing. It's just now we're putting these. like words,
Mhm.
around that. And so it's kind of like what we talk about here is like hiding in plain sight. Like I'm still here, I'm still who I am. It's just
Mhm.
now I'm speaking and putting a, you know, label to that. So it's cool that to hear that you're still going out and you're still doing those things and having a face that people can connect with and have this conversation with.
Right.
So with that, the next question that comes up is that when you're interacting with people, like how does your spirit team come up? Is it and let me go
Okay.
back to this
Okay.
because I had connected and met with Teresa Caputo, who's one of like the mediums that a
Mm.
lot of people are familiar with, right?
Mhm.
So you may see her in the grocery store and all of a sudden she gets a message and she feels compelled that I go and talk to this individual or this person. So
Right.
elaborating more, what does it look like for Michelle? Do you see the spirits and then you feel like you're supposed to give a divine message to someone that may be in the grocery store or something like that? Like, how does it show up?
Right, right. Well, and I have learned not to, and I will tell you why. Yeah, and I don't really see them, but I hear their loved one on the other side.
Okay.
And I've had it happen several times with people that I work with. But like if you're out in public and somebody is trying to buy bananas and you go up to them and you go, guess what? I have a message for you. They may not be ready for that message in the store because it's an emotional time, right? They're going through
Mhm.
that grieving process. And a lot of things that you see on TV are staged.
Yes.
So, and it
Mhm.
just to me, it's a private thing. And if I don't know them and they haven't given me permission to connect with their loved one, then I should not be doing that. But yeah, so I usually always ask permission, and usually I'll do this with clients, even if they make an appointment with me. I always say, "Do I have permission to connect with your loved one on the other side? And do you want to hear everything that they have to say?"
Get specific, Michelle.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes. And do
yes.
you find people are more open to it than not?
Absolutely. Now, I was reading somebody
Uh-huh.
and it was a client and it was at one of the holistic fairs. And I brought across a stepfather and which she did not care for. And you could tell her demeanor all of a sudden changed. And I
Mhm.
said, "Would you like me to tell him to step aside?" And she said, "Oh no, he always comes across and I want to know what he needs to say to me." But she was still like like this.
Like reserve, like, yes.
Don't come across the table and hit me or anything, right? But I said something and you could tell. She said, "Well, you tell him." It's like, okay. I mean, I could feel all this anger, but I had to remember this is something healing that she was needing to hear and that spirit wanted to tell. And she was great at the very end. She said, "Thank you so much." And she kept bringing me clients. so so you just never know what will happen. But yeah, so just knowing your client that you have their permission. Um, because
Mhm.
see, if I didn't have her permission and I was in the grocery store, she might have, hit me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So this is so true. So this is one of those things that I say as well is that like I said, you have a conversation with somebody, and that was one of the things like a message or something would kind of come through because I would tap into my own spirit team. And so then it would become I was struggling before because it was like you said, you're like, this is you don't want people to think you're crazy, the whole judgment piece of it. And that's not what they're expecting or whatever.
Oh,
And so
right.
now it becomes I ask, are you open to intuitive feedback? And
Right.
it'll be like, yes. And my husband taught me that well because that's where some of it, I was like, are you open to intuitive feedback? And he was like, no. But I felt as though I had done what they would expect of me to say, okay, I was open and I was willing to share. But if
Mhm.
they're not ready to receive that message, then it's like, it's okay. This is not, the time for that. And it's like
Right.
you said, you just confirm it because you could be talking to somebody and be like, okay, are you open to intuitive feedback? And then you
Right.
can, proceed from there. What I also love hearing is that you had that experience, those to where someone can have what you may think is a challenging like
Mhm.
read or something like that,
Mhm.
but they could become that becomes the best experience. Like she was ready. You were the right person to guide her with that conversation to connect with her so she can hear what she needs to hear and then be like, okay, it turned out really, great. But if you had
Right.
completely shut down and not had the ability, like that could have turned out
Oh, absolutely.
completely different experience. And then, you have all of that just kind of going on and just awry with that. So the next question that I have, because you used the word clients, and the word that came up under this card, in addition to that, was prosperity. Tell me about the decision when you decided, okay, it's one thing when it's just your gift. What was the decision like when you decided that this is going to become your business?
I gotcha. To work with others instead of using it, behind closed doors.
Right. And there's this
Eh,
financial exchange and all of that.
Yes,
Like, so.
exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
So my main purpose for it, of course, it was a calling. I knew
Mm,
that I needed to use the gift to help others,
yeah.
heal and know that there's something so much more divine out there than what we anticipate. And especially during times like these, of what we're going through, our world, a lot of earthly issues going on there. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of people need the inspiration behind everything.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And to know that it's going to be okay and to have the faith. But sometimes they just need to hear it
Yeah.
and know that people have that, oh my gosh, just sharing that wonderful energy that we learn how to share. Just knowing I can do that. I just, and I'm very grateful I can.
Yeah.
And I feel like it does come from source, to provide that energy for me.
Yes, I love that. The
Yeah,
co-confirmation, because that's a lot of times when we are having conversations with people, it's like, I was just thinking that, or I felt they knew that, and it was like, this is just simply a confirmation of what you already knew. That
absolutely.
that yes, you're not crazy. This is exactly, what
Yes,
you're
yes,
supposed to be doing. So with that, what words of encouragement would you provide to someone who was like you, or even like us? We're in the South.
yes, yes.
We're having these experiences. What words of encouragement would you provide?
Find the strength to kick that door open and be and be your unique self, because as soon as you embrace who you are, others will embrace it as well. And you will make so many changes in your life, and you'll know that you're on the right pathway once you do it.
Yes, loving that.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, okay, look, because this is all about the same. So I'm just gonna say, because is there a
Okay.
message that I'm supposed to receive? Is there a family member? Because I do tap into it, but when it's personal, I'm open to receive any
Oh,
message.
you mean to you, for
Yes.
you. Oh,
Hmm.
let
Is
me
there?
see, because I was going to say, I don't know. I think you were reading me, and the room got very heavy. And I was going, is
Mm,
that her reading me, or is that someone coming in to visit? Okay.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me
Yes.
see. All right. So as soon as you said that, and it's very interesting, and you may be the same way, is as
Mm-hmm.
soon as somebody asks you the question and you hear the answer, that's usually coming from spirit, because I don't have enough time to really think about it.
Yes.
So I'm hearing a grandmother that's coming across a very,
Mm,
you were very close to this grandmother, and she's kind of given me validation. Does this make sense to you? A close relationship with your grandmother?
mhm.
And it is okay. So she is showing me that she was the type of person where, she knew, you knew where you stood with her. You didn't even have to think about what she was thinking. She would tell you, you
Yeah.
know, and it's almost like she was a very strong lady and really had to deal with a lot of life situations,
Mm,
especially growing up. And she's telling me that she didn't want her babies to go through the same thing. So it's
mm.
almost like she was the warrior. Yeah, okay, she was the warrior for you. And and the reason why I'm saying okay, yeah, she and how they validate with me is I kind of get goosebumps, and
Yes,
it's like
me too.
exactly what so you'll hear. Um, Okay, and she's also also feeling that she also had the ability of being in
Mm,
tuned to others. And that's when she knew exactly what to say, kind of like me, just knowing when she needed to say it at that right time, even though sometimes it seemed a little bit harsh, but it was the perfect timing. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, okay, what is, and I'm putting a heart around your name. So I doodle a lot too, and that kind of gets
Yes.
my ego out of the way.
Mhm.
Okay. So I think, okay. So what I'm really feeling with you and what the message basically is that you have come, since you have come out, it's almost like it's flowing, but then sometimes there's a barrier that gets in the way. And it's like, you think, should I be doing this again? You have second thoughts off and on constantly. And I think it's the people, I think it's the people that you're meeting kind of question you and you kind of go, do I really want to have this fight? And your
Mm,
grandmother is saying, yes, you need to have this fight. Okay.
got
Because
it.
you are blooming like a flower and you need to show the world who you are. And don't be afraid and don't fight the process. Okay. It's a
Mm,
sometimes a slow process. And don't, and it seems like you're fighting it a little bit. You want it to move quicker than it what is. It's almost like a turtle, is what I'm saying.
yes.
Okay. So she's saying go with the process because as long as you stick with it, then everything's going to go in alignment. Okay. Your spirit team
Yeah.
has you. You've got to
Yes.
trust that and have the faith.
Well, it's no accident that you would draw this whole heart around here. So I am receiving that. Yes, this is
Yes.
a part of that. But I agree with you that yes, I do have a grandmother that was very much tell it like it is, and
Yes.
pretty much no kind of filter.
Right.
Um,
Right.
with that, and just having connecting with her after the fact. I agree. I think I've drawn more probably to her inabilities because I
Hmm.
think it was not always talked about in the
Hmm.
family, and I
Hmm.
get it on both sides, so it's even more so. So
Wow.
it's one of those things, like you said, they don't talk about it, and it's
Hmm.
like, why not?
Right.
Kind of deal. So, but yeah,
Right.
again, thank you for the words of channeling that through her because it is a confirmation. Having these conversations, having them live on a quote unquote professional network, living
Right.
in the South, and when you meet, people, and it's very much like you said, do I explain to them what it is that I do,
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
thing. And so it's like, yeah, you do. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And those are the kind of messages that I love to give. There are a lot of psychic or a lot of mediums out there that like to give evidential evidence, more
Mhm.
so like when they were born or
Yeah.
what they look like. I always like to give memories and especially a message if it's a
Mhm.
quick read, because
Yeah.
that's what's important.
And then for me, like I said, I understand where you're coming from and having tapped to the spiritual realm. And the thing about it is what I will tell you, what I would say that coaches have coaches,
Hmm.
so it's like, yes, I can connect with them and I can talk with them, but it's also cool when other people, I may be too personal, too close at the moment to where it's just like, yeah. So it's just
Right.
like a confirmation of I thought that, but it's kinda what I needed to hear to be like, "Yes,
Good.
keep doing what
Good.
you're doing." So absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for
So
allowing me.
yeah, thank you. So with that, as we get ready to wrap up and people are like, "You know what? Yes, I wanna have a conversation with Michelle. I like her
Mhm.
vibe, I am feeling her energy." How can people reach you?
Basically, go to my website. That's where all the information is. So it's www.michellehendersonmedium.com.
Love that. Michelle, thank you so much for
Oh, well, thank
connecting with
you.
me today, and for those that are watching, I hope you be encouraged to live smart and ascend to new levels of success. Until we meet next week.